Goodbye, Kyle.
We're wrapping up Puppygate on Beverly Hills, so I thought it only appropriate to bring out my own beloved puppy, Bobby, in honor of wrapping up this controversial, seemingly endless storyline. Bobby is actually not a puppy. He's 15 and a half years old. He's alive and well. He is my rescue. And it just felt right to bring him and his heart and his energy into this video today. Okay, let's get started. Truthfully, I've been really resistant, honestly, to make a video getting into the final climactic fight between Kyle and Lisa Vanderpump. I've been resistant to it for a few reasons. One, like I said in my initial video about Puppygate, this whole thing is just such a clusterfuck. And it's just so thorny and convoluted. There's so many different threads to untangle that I just get exhausted even thinking about approaching it or even thinking about how to approach it. But we are here. It's the topic du jour, and I know I would be remiss not to sort of delve into it. The other reason why I hesitate getting into it is because it forces me to dive into my own personal take on Lisa Vanderpump. And the reality is, I know there are a lot of people out there who watch the show and who watch these videos who are just die-hard Lisa Vanderpump fans, and they really kind of want to engage in this whole topic and conversation on the level of just defending Lisa Vanderpump, defending Lisa Vanderpump, defending Lisa Vanderpump, seeing Lisa Vanderpump as just this innocent victim who is, at the mercy of just these horrible women who are just jealous of her and who just want to take her down. And the reality of the situation is this, you guys, like, I don't care about any of that. I hope it's become clear from these videos. I'm not really making these videos to engage with these shows on the level of just kind of superficial gossip, although don't get me wrong, superficial gossip can be fun, and it can certainly be fun to engage with these shows as mindless escapism or entertainment. However, that's not what I'm doing in these videos. And I'm certainly not here to kind of engage in conversations about, like, there are good guys and there are villains, it's black or it's white, because that's not how humanity works. It's just not how humanity works. And, if we're talking about interpersonal relationships, conflict between people who have ongoing relationships with each other, it is so rare that there is ever a situation where one person is just completely to blame and the other person is just completely innocent of any quote-unquote wrongdoing. Even if there is a situation where, another person has just completely acted out, it generally stands to reason that there's still something there for the injured or afflicted party to learn from. What can I learn from this? What was my part in this? What boundary didn't I draw? What red flag did I ignore? What part of me drew this person into my life in the first place? This is a very spiritual way of looking at the world. And it's how I look at the world, that we are constantly co-creating with the universe. So if there's something in our lives we don't like or that's unpleasant for us, something in us has brought that in to learn a lesson, to shine a light on something inside of ourselves that needs or wants to be healed. Now, if you don't agree with that, that's fine, but just understand that's where I'm coming from in these videos. So when there is someone like Lisa Vanderpump who finds herself at the center of a drama where there are a lot of fingers being pointed at her, from my point of view, there's no way she's just 100% an innocent victim in all of this. At the very least, there's something in her that's sort of drawing this experience in for her to learn from. Now, it's my personal opinion that her hands are actually much dirtier than that. Why do I feel this way? I feel this way because personally, over the years that I've watched the show, I have seen Lisa Vanderpump lie on camera. I've seen her get caught lying. I've seen her be a shitty friend to her friends as a way to punish them. on camera. I have seen her strategize. On camera, I have seen her deflect. On camera, I've seen her sort of be cruel and lord her power over others on camera. This is my perception, based on what I see on TV. Now, here's the thing. You may not agree with me, and that's wonderful. That's great. That's fantastic. And what I want to say to you is I'm not here to convince you of my opinion about Lisa Vanderpump. And what I'm also here to say is I don't care if you disagree with me, meaning I'm not charged around it. I'm not triggered around it. I'm not going to get into a fight with anyone about it because ultimately Lisa Vanderpump's life is Lisa Vanderpump's life. It has nothing to do with me. I'm watching her on a television screen. She's going to do what she's going to do. And it doesn't have that much of an effect on me either way, other than how I take it in for my own reflection. So why am I saying all this? I'm saying all this because there definitely seems to be a phenomenon out there of people getting really triggered around this issue of how Lisa Vanderpump has been treated on the show. And I definitely see, when I peruse social media, I see this real sort of aggressive flavor and attitude amongst people who really support Lisa. And it's interesting because on the one hand, a lot of these people who get so worked up about this, they are so mad at, Lisa Rinna, Erica Jane, Dorit, and Kyle, accusing them of trying to make Lisa Vanderpump the bad guy. And yet, in a way, that's exactly what these fans are doing towards these other women. It's like, you're the bad guy. We're taking you down. You're trying to take Lisa Vanderpump down. We're taking you down. So it's like people getting so angry and trying to point a finger at other people who are angry and pointing a finger. And in a way, when people get so aggressive and wanting to take down the other women, they are essentially doing the very thing that they are accusing the other women of doing, which, by the way, is also true for the other women, in the sense that they're so fired up right now about exposing Lisa Vanderpump for being manipulative, for engineering things, that they themselves are also getting manipulative. They're jumping the gun. They're being messy. They're not handling this well or in what I would call sort of a mature fashion. So it's just interesting because whether we're looking at the other women on the show or we're looking at the angry fans, what you see is this perfect illustration of what happens when you let yourself get so charged and triggered about what someone else is doing and you want to blame them, blame them, blame them. You end up becoming the very thing that you're pointing a finger at. Blame never wins. And I talked about this in my last video with Teddy Mellencamp. So what I want to say is, if you are someone watching this and you feel yourself getting so worked up over the fact that I, Jamie, personally suspect that there is some truth to these women's issues with Lisa Vanderpump, that Lisa Vanderpump has had some kind of hand in all of this, that Lisa Vanderpump has shown signs of what I would call narcissism. Please keep in mind, I don't know that much about the textbook definition of narcissism. I'm not diagnosing Lisa Vanderpump as a narcissist. I'm just saying my casual understanding of narcissism, she seems to exhibit signs of it. That's my experience of the show. That's edited into 45-minute chunks. I don't know any of these women. Everything I say comes from what I see on TV, like you. Now, if my take on things differs from yours, and you find yourself getting really upset about that, and you want to angrily type a comment to me in the comments, I would just take this opportunity to really check in with yourself. And to really look at, why does this bother me so much? Why do I need Jamie or someone else or whomever to agree with me about Lisa Vanderpump? Why am I so invested in Lisa Vanderpump being an innocent victim? Why does it matter to me that other people see this the same way that I do. Because at the end of the day, you know, I have no effect on your life. And you're never going to convince me that I'm wrong. Lisa Vanderpump has no effect on your life, and you have no effect on Lisa Vanderpump's life. We are all separate human beings doing our own things. So if you feel really charged around hearing me or someone else say, hey, you know, I think Lisa Vanderpump has her hands dirty, it's an opportunity for you to go within and really find out, like, what's the trigger here? Because if this has nothing to do with Jamie, and this is just my own stuff, there's something here I'm avoiding. If I can't control what other people think about Lisa Vanderpump, and I just have to sit with that, I have to sit with this anger, with this charge, where is it taking me? What is it reminding me of in my own life? Why is this important to me? Because truly, ultimately, this has nothing to do with anyone else but you. And this is true for all of us. I mean, I see it so often. People so often want their favorite celebrities or actors or athletes to be totally good people who only do the right thing. And if you dare to suggest that maybe that's not true, they get so upset. And it's like, well, why? Why do you need to believe that your favorite celebrity is an amazing person who never does anything wrong? Why can't we hold space for the complexity of life, which is we are all human beings? So yes, Lisa Vanderpump, wonderful philanthropist, does amazing things for dogs, loves her husband, has a great magical spirit, great entrepreneur, great businesswoman, has a joie de vivre, totally see how charming she is, and personally, I also feel like she can get shitty. And I'm comfortable holding both things at once. I don't need Lisa Vanderpump to be a saint, and I also don't need her to be a devil. And if you find yourself wanting Lisa to be a saint and the other women to be a devil, or even vice versa, again, I would just sort of check in with yourself and really use this as an opportunity to get clear on what part of you is uncomfortable with complexity. What part of you is uncomfortable with saying, hey, you know, there are things I love about this person, and maybe they're not all or nothing. Because what happens in that place is we have to actually be willing to be present moment to moment. We can't just make these snap, comfortable judgments. And by the way, that's what's gotten Lisa in trouble over and over again. I've talked about this before. She's all or nothing as a friend. It's diehard loyalty, have my back at all costs, or we're not friends. And that's why she gets into trouble time and time and time again, because this is not a realistic view of relationship or humanity. So, having said all that, let's jump into it. So here's the thing that I find so intriguing about this fight between Kyle and Lisa Vanderpump. I find it so fascinating that these two women, prior to this fight, were totally okay. That's what's so juicy and amazing and compelling about this, is that when Lisa Vanderpump opened that front door, she was good with Kyle. And before this story broke, Kyle was good with Lisa Vanderpump. And in fact, Kyle was still trying to remain neutral at that lunch, which we'll get into in a moment. These two really had no beef with each other. They were good. There was no building tension between them. And yet, like that, in one encounter, their friendship is now over. Why? How does that happen? How can things boil to a head so intensely in one? I mean, we don't know how long they were actually there for, but it didn't feel that long. Kyle's hat never came off. You know, how does a friendship go from being totally okay to being totally over in such a short amount of time? And what I find even more interesting about this is that it wasn't even a fight between them. It wasn't about a conflict between them. It was a conflict between Lisa Vanderpump and Dorit. So how Kyle is suddenly in the middle of this and it's ending their friendship is amazing to me. So I want to really deep dive the breakdown of how this happened, and I really want to focus on Kyle. I feel like for me, what this really is about on so many levels is what it means to be in relationship with someone who has, from your perspective, severe limitations, and the role of boundaries, the meaning of what it means to truly accept someone for who they are, and yeah, by extension, what it means to really accept someone's limitations. I think that Kyle has been attempting to walk this line for years now of basically saying, I see who Lisa Vanderpump is. I see her shortcomings as a friend. I am making the choice not to care. I love her. I want to be in a relationship with her. I'm going to be friends with her anyway. Her relationship means so much to me that I'm willing to overlook the things that bother me in order to keep the relationship alive. Now, that is a bold choice, and it is a choice everyone has the right to make. It's certainly an empowered and conscious choice, but it's a choice that comes with certain requirements. And I don't think that Kyle has actually been living up to the requirements. And I think that's why things got so heated so quickly. I think that Kyle really just mishandled, not consciously, not intentionally, I think she mishandled the situation because she actually hasn't been willing to do what she needs to do in order to stay in relationship with Lisa Vanderpump, regardless of Lisa Vanderpump's limitations. So fast forwarding to the fight, Kyle pretty much boldly states to Lisa that she feels Lisa planted the story. And it's clear that Kyle wants Lisa to take some kind of responsibility for what she's done. Kyle says to her, you know, you can do something wrong and we'll still love you regardless. And it's clear that in Kyle's mind, what she really wants from LVP is that LVP is going to say, oh, you know what, Kyle, you're right. I did make a mistake. I went too far with this. I'm sorry. Will you love me anyway? And then the two of them will sort of, you know, kiss and make up, and they'll be sort of better friends for it. I think that's what Kyle really wants. She wants to be in what I would call real relationship with LVP, where they both get to express their concerns and their grievances. They both own up to it when they make mistakes, and they grow together as women, as friends, as a result of their willingness to be in mutual self-responsibility. The problem with this is that it is never going to happen. Now, I don't know if Lisa Vanderpump leaked this story or not, but let's just say she did. There is not a chance in hell Lisa Vanderpump is ever going to cop to it. There's no version of this interaction where Lisa Vanderpump gets quiet and says, you know what, Kyle, I've gone within and you're right. You know, it's time for me to come clean. My hands are dirty. Can you please forgive me? I'm so sorry. I'm humbled. Now let's sort of grow and change together. I, as a viewer who barely knows Lisa Vanderpump, knows that is never going to happen. And the fact that Kyle, for 1 second, even entertains that as a possibility suggests to me that she's not really in reality about who Lisa Vanderpump is. I feel like the difficulty that Kyle keeps running into, whether it's Lisa Vanderpump, whether it's Kim Richards, I bet Kathy Hilton as well, is that deep down she wants these relationships to actually go deeper than these other women are capable of going. And so she says with her mouth, I'm okay with who Lisa Vanderpump is. I see these bad parts of her and I'm okay with it. But I question whether that's really true, because if she were genuinely okay with it, then she would understand. She's never going to get Lisa Vanderpump to cop to something like this. And she would never even go in with that mission in the first place. And I feel like if Kyle really let herself understand, this is who Lisa Vanderpump is, there's a certain edge Lisa Vanderpump will never go past. There is a certain limitation in this friendship that Lisa Vanderpump will not let herself grow beyond. In that place, Kyle has to give up her deepest vision of what she wants this relationship to be. She has to drop into reality that there's a certain point beyond which Lisa Vanderpump cannot and will not take accountability for her actions. And if that is going to upset Kyle, then Kyle needs to pull back. She needs to take care of herself in that way. She cannot get too invested with Lisa Vanderpump. She can have a more casual friendship with her. She can love her from more of a distance, but she cannot think of her as the kind of close friend who can be counted on to take genuine self-responsibility in times like these. And so guys, I say this to you for you to be thinking about your own relationships in your own life. It's like, to me, this is like dealing with someone who has parents that maybe don't approve of their chosen profession, okay? And let's say this person, loves their parents though, obviously wants to stay in relationship with them, but keeps going back again and again for approval from their parents about their chosen profession. Why won't my parents accept me for what I do? Why won't they see the validity of what I do? Why won't they see, the value of who I am in my chosen career? And it's like, no. Stop it. Stop it. You want something you're never going to get here. I get it. You love your parents. You want to be close with them. You want to be seen by them. You want to be able to share everything you want to share with them. But they've shown you who they are. They're never going to get it. So rather than continuing to bring up your latest achievement, hoping, now finally they'll be the parent I want them to be, and setting them up for failure and setting yourself up for disappointment, you instead need to have a boundary, which is, I'm not going to go to my parents with issues relating to my job. I'm not going to tell them about my job. I'm not going to tell them about my latest professional victory. And yeah, that might make you feel sad. It might make you feel lonely, and those are your feelings to feel and to deal with. But if you are truly accepting them for who they are, if you are truly seeing their limitations, and you truly want to be in relationship with them, that means you have to take care of yourself. And taking care of yourself means having boundaries. And in this example, that means I'm not going to talk to my mom and my dad about my professional life because they don't get it. And I feel like it's that kind of thing that Kyle isn't doing with Lisa Vanderpump. She's not setting up the appropriate fence to take care of herself in the face of Lisa Vanderpump's limitations. Okay, so for me, that's the fundamental issue at hand here, but now let's kind of deconstruct the actual fight itself. And my intention in deconstructing the fight itself is to really kind of identify some core key principles that I feel would have helped Kyle in this situation, and I'm hoping will help you in your life and in your various conflicts, if and when they should arise. So first things first, the first big thing that I saw Kyle doing, the first kind of unconscious, unintentional mistake that Kyle made was not having stronger boundaries with the women at lunch. Kyle was clear from the beginning. She was not comfortable having a conversation about Lisa Vanderpump with Lisa Vanderpump not being there, which, by the way, great, totally great, awesome. Plus, at this point, Kyle is saying to the world, I don't want to be in the middle of this. Like, I have my relationship with Lisa Vanderpump. In a way, this has nothing to do with me. I am navigating this delicate line where I am accepting Lisa Vanderpump for who she is because the friendship means that much to me. And I can tell if I get involved in this conversation, it's gonna make holding that line much more difficult. And so Kyle wanted to have a boundary. And you could see though, the other women clearly had an investment in dragging Kyle into this. And you could see how difficult it was for Kyle to stand her ground. And I think the best thing for Kyle in that situation would have been to have a really firm boundary. Now, part of why I think she doesn't have a firm boundary is because she doesn't truly deep down accept Lisa Vanderpump for who she is. We've already talked about that. But that aside, I think it was on Kyle to have a really strong boundary here. What does that look like in this situation? When you have all these women sort of putting you on the spot, wanting you to talk about this, wanting you to talk about this, what does a strong boundary in that situation look like? If it were me, I feel like I would say something along the lines of, you know what, guys? I totally see and hear where you're coming from. I can sense and feel that you guys are really agitated about this and it's taking you somewhere emotionally. The truth is, I'm genuinely not comfortable for me having this conversation without Lisa being here. I can feel there's something you want from me here, but I have to just be really clear. For me and myself, I am not going to talk about this at this lunch. You guys can talk whatever you want. I'm not trying to control you, but for me, I will not talk about this anymore. And it's as simple as that. Now, I understand for a lot of people, it's hard to draw boundaries in the moment because a lot of us get flustered, especially if you're not used to drawing clear, strong boundaries. It can get very easy just to kind of trip over yourself or even to get reactive, and then people kind of use that against you. You know, it requires a certain on-the-spot like grace and finesse, and you know, if you haven't practiced it that much, it can feel a little overwhelming sometimes to actually find that sort of elegant solution inside you. So, by the way, I have a whole video about getting into deeper relationship with your boundaries. So if you are someone listening to this and you are identifying as someone who does have difficulty with boundaries, definitely go check out my video about boundaries because it should be helpful for you. And I'm going to get into one of the principles I talk about in that video right now. So let's say Kyle just doesn't have the presence of mind to just have a clear, fair, strong no in that moment. This is what I think she could have said instead. And this is what I think you guys could say when it's time for you. When you're feeling something's uncomfortable, you know there's a boundary for you to draw. You don't quite know how to draw it or even what the boundary is. This is what you can always say. You know what, guys? I hear what you're saying. I'm aware that I don't quite know how to respond, and I don't want to say anything until I'm clear on what I'm feeling. Let me get back to you. And that's it. You know, that's it. It can't get any clearer than that. There's just nothing really anyone can say to that. And if someone keeps coming at you demanding an answer, at that point, it's just a matter of like holding up a mirror and saying, look, I've told you. I'm not clear on what I think about this yet. I need time to think. Please respect that. People really can't argue with that without coming off like a total asshole who's just willing to violate your boundaries. So don't ever be scared to just slow things down and to just simply name, I don't quite know what my truth is yet and I need time, because that's a boundary. So however Kyle does it, her task at that lunch was just to shut things down from her end, and she didn't do that. So that was sort of mistake number one. And I'll call this principle number one. Stand by your boundary. So now we get to the fight itself. I think the second thing that I saw Kyle do that was not what I would call helpful was not being clear in her intention with this conversation with Lisa Vanderpump. So I heard Kyle state two different intentions. One intention was, I felt an obligation to tell Lisa Vanderpump what the other women were saying about her behind her back as her friend. I have no problem with that. That's great, especially in the context of the show. For me, all that means is, hey, Lisa, I want you to know, because I was present, this is what the women are saying about you. The end. That's the information. You know, there's really sort of no other need for commentary. Now, I get that Kyle's in an unfortunate position because Lisa Vanderpump at that point might demand Kyle's unwavering devotion. Or she might demand to know, well, you don't think I would do that, do you? And that's going to put Kyle on the spot. And I think that's kind of what was happening with Kyle, was she was sort of preemptively defending her position. I think in that event, you know, Kyle has either two choices she needs to make. She either needs to draw a similar boundary with Lisa Vanderpump and say something like, you know what, this issue feels so convoluted to me. I don't understand the backstory behind this. I'm friends with you. I'm friends with Dorit. I don't want to be involved. I'm not going to talk about this. In the same way that I didn't want to talk about you with them, I am not talking about them with you. That's it. Have a strong no with Lisa Vanderpump. And then if Lisa Vanderpump really demands answers, well then yes, that's the point maybe where you have to start explaining where you're coming from. But the thing is, Kyle, she wasn't just going there to relay the news. She also was going there to defend what was right. And again, this is sort of where things get so convoluted, because it's like, well, those are two different things, Kyle. Why are you there? What is your intention in going to Lisa Vanderpump's house? Is it simply to deliver news that people are talking about her? Or is it to defend what's right? And you guys, the reason why I bring this up, I think it's really important. Always know what you actually want from a conversation. Because the truth is, if you're sort of sitting there saying something like, well, I just want to relay the news, but deep down you're really charged and triggered, it's not going to lead to things going well. You've got to be clear about where you're coming from. Do you have a clear intention, or are you charged and triggered? And if you're charged and triggered, in the place where you're charged and triggered, what do you want? Is this about expressing your anger? Is this about being seen? Is this about being heard? Is this about drawing a boundary? Like, what do you actually want from the conversation? What is your deepest intention? What is your deepest truth? And then go for that. Live by that. Don't dress it up in other things. I don't think Kyle was really clear about what she was going there for, which in a way it's another boundary issue, but it's a boundary issue in herself. It's like clarifying, where is she actually at with Lisa Vanderpump? What does she actually want from this conversation? What does she actually need from it? Being honest with herself, because the thing is, Kyle then ends up looking passive aggressive, because it's like, well, Lisa, I'm just delivering the news, but meanwhile I'm getting in all these jabs and these digs about what I really feel about you. It's like, no, Kyle, you're not being sort of clear and straight about what you want here. And I think Kyle would have been really well served by even like going and getting a therapy session and just getting really clear on where the situation was taking her and what she actually wanted and needed from Lisa Vanderpump in this situation. Now, having said all that, the third major mistake I feel like Kyle made in this situation, that all the women are making at this point, is assuming she knows the truth about Lisa Vanderpump. There were a lot of conclusions leapt to. Now, I understand the women have reasons to believe that Lisa Vanderpump leaked the story. I understand that the women have reasons to believe that Lisa Vanderpump has her hands dirty, but the fact is, they don't actually know. And Kyle did not go over there with any kind of spirit of curiosity. She was pretty much ready to point the finger. And I just feel like in any conflict, you guys, you can never make the assumption that you actually know what's gone on behind the scenes or what's going on inside someone's head. You may suspect, you may have your intuition, but if you come from that place of, I know that's what happened, especially if you're charged, you're in for a world of trouble. None of us know everything, and we do have our blind spots. We do have our own filters, especially when we're charged. All these women have a built-up history with LVP that they're coming from right now, and that's part of why I think they're getting so aggressive. And the thing is, what if she didn't leak the story? What if this is the one time she didn't leak the story? So whenever you're in a conflict with someone, always get curious about where they're coming from. Get curious about what their point of view is. Get curious about what they have to say. One of the ways that I love to language things sometimes is, like, if I feel like there's something that's gone on, I have my own intuitive sense of it. Like, let's say someone's trying to hurt me or belittle me. One of the ways I like to language things is, hey, Joe, I noticed that when you made that comment to me, it really made me feel hurt and belittled. And I'm just curious, like, was your intention to hurt me, or what was your intention there? Like, I just kind of want to get a reality check about what you meant when you said that to me. So do you notice like how kind of non-confrontational that is? Like, it's very, I'm not pointing a finger, I'm taking responsibility for my own experience about something, and I'm getting curious about Joe. Now, I can't control Joe and whether he's going to be honest with me or not. Maybe he's going to give me a straight answer, maybe he's not. That's for me to kind of navigate as the conversation deepens. But the point is, I'm coming to Joe with a sense of curiosity and a genuine desire to know where he's coming from, because maybe it is all just a misunderstanding. So this brings me to my last point, and I've actually already mentioned this, but it deserves its own point, which is Kyle should have never really been there in the first place, in the sense that this wasn't an argument between Kyle and Lisa Vanderpump. It was an argument between Dorit and Lisa Vanderpump. And I can't say this any more simply and any more passionately than this. Don't ever fight other people's battles. I can't stress this enough. We've seen this play out on the Housewives over and over. Fighting other people's battles leads to trouble. It is none of your business. It does not mean you are being a good friend when you fight on behalf of a friend. That is not loyalty, because you're playing into this sort of right, wrong, good, bad. I mean, you even heard Kyle say that, like, I'm acting on behalf of what's right. Well, who are you to decide what's right? This is a complicated situation. I absolutely believe Dorit was messy with that dog. I absolutely believe Dorit was messy with that dog. I absolutely believe Teddy has a huge part to play in all this by, being willing to go along with some horrible plan. This isn't about what's right or wrong. This is about a messy issue with backstory that involves, nuanced relationship dynamics, and it is not Kyle's fight to fight. And again, kind of like I was talking about the passionate Lisa Vanderpump fans who are so ready to get riled up on Lisa Vanderpump's behalf, if you find yourself getting really riled up on behalf of a friend for an argument that has nothing to do with you, it's time to check yourself and really kind of drop in and say, okay, where is this taking me? Because this fight has nothing to do with me. And it's not my fight to fight. And at the end of the day, I am not God. I do not decide what's right. I am getting one side of the story here. Who am I to interject myself? That doesn't serve my friend. My friend's going to be best served by being challenged to get clear on what their part of the situation is, for them to take responsibility for their side of things. That's how I can be a really good friend, not by amping up this sort of dramatic conflict between the two of them. Not for me to defend what's right. I mean, we saw this with Portia and Phaedra. That whole thing with Kandi being accused of being a rapist. That all happened because Portia decided to insert herself in a fight that had nothing to do with her. The fight between Phaedra and Kandi was the fight between Phaedra and Kandi. It had nothing to do with Portia. Portia inserted herself into it out of loyalty. And it became a disaster because she was being fed lies. And that's why to this day, I don't think Portia's ever really taken responsibility for that. She still kind of acts like, oh, I was victimized by Phaedra. No, you weren't. You were not victimized by Phaedra. You were lied to by Phaedra. But that was still your choice to put yourself in the middle of that fight. You had no business there. If you had minded your own business and supported Phaedra to take responsibility for her part in things, none of that messiness would have happened. And so for Kyle, it's like, I don't know why she's even inserting herself in something that has nothing to do with her in the first place. And, if I were friends with Kyle, I would have really advised that she simply stay out of it. Yeah, deliver the news to Lisa. Dorit's upset. The women are talking about it. The end. So there you have it, guys. I mean, like I said, it's just a total clusterfuck. I think if I were really sort of to distill this all down to kind of like a single sentence of what I see going on here, I really think that Kyle, needs to get honest with herself about how she needs and wants to take care of herself in the face of Lisa Vanderpump's limitations. So meaning, if she just truly accepts that there are things Lisa Vanderpump is never going to take responsibility for, and that Lisa Vanderpump, in Kyle's mind, is going to go out and do shitty things sometimes and then absolutely refuse to cop to it. If Kyle truly accepts that, how does she need to take care of herself in terms of this friendship? How does she need to reframe the friendship? What boundaries does she need to have in this friendship? Because again, I just feel like Kyle wants to have it both ways. She wants to kind of say she's accepting Lisa Vanderpump's limitations, but then she still wants to be in this deep, meaningful relationship. And it's like, she can't have it both ways, I don't think. I think if she really gets clear and honest about who Lisa Vanderpump is, at least in her mind, her experience, her perception of who Lisa Vanderpump is, she's gonna have to make some adjustments. And I think it was her unwillingness to be clear about those adjustments and those boundaries that just sort of led to this whole clusterfuck in the first place. So you guys, my invitation to you is to start thinking about your own life and people, friends, family, loved ones who maybe drive you crazy. People, friends, loved ones who maybe you kind of bump up against routinely, or there's sort of conflict that keeps rearing its head. What I want to sort of ask you, what I want to invite you into is maybe really thinking about like, okay, if I take a step back, and if I know that I want this person in my life, okay, I know that a relationship with them is important to me for whatever reason. If I take a step back and I take a breath and I really just surrender the fact that certain things are never going to change. These certain things are always going to be true about this person. There's a certain way they're never going to hear me or see me. There's certain things about them that they're never going to grow out of. But I know I want them to stay in my life. Rather than trying to fix them, rather than trying to get them to hear me or see me in a way that they're never going to hear me or see me, I instead want you to really think about, how do I need to take care of myself here? If I'm realistic about who this person is and the limitations in their friendship, and I'm truly going to accept them for who they are and not try to change them, how do I need to take care of myself? What are the boundaries I need to have? And then the real graduate level work is, what feelings am I going to have to feel in the face of these boundaries? What sense of loss, what sense of sadness, what sense of anger, and understanding that's for you to feel. That's not for your friend to take care of, it's for you to feel. So really let yourself think about, what would it mean to truly accept this difficult person for who they are and the boundaries that you would then have to draw rather than trying to change them, okay? Oh my God, you guys, this was like a marathon video. If you like this, if you got something out of it, please like it. Please subscribe to my channel. As always, I've got exclusive content on my Instagram, Jamie Stein, Twitter, Jamie_Stein_. And by the way, if this video has brought anything up in you, if there's a particular relationship that you have difficulty navigating, if you have difficulty with boundaries, if relationship issues are an issue for you, I do remote readings with people all the time. So head over to my website, www.hollywoodreadings.com. Check it out. If it speaks to you, send me an email, because I can help you to get really clear on the lessons you're meant to learn from certain relationships and how to navigate them in a way that will facilitate your highest growth in learning. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Till next time, bye.